someone what is called insurable interest. Insurable interest in life and health insurance must exist at time of application only. Must exist at time of application only. So you can buy insurance on yourself, your family members, and a key person in your business. But other than that, you can't buy your life insurance, buy a life insurance policy on a professional race car driver, unless he happens to be your husband, or your daughter for that matter, right? So insurable interest must exist at time of application. Can I buy insurance on my children? Yes. My husband? Certainly. A key person in my business? Yes. Who would be the owner of that policy? I would be. The insured would be my husband, for example. I would have the owner's rights. I am the owner. He is the insured. Remember, if I'm buying insurance on an adult, both me, the owner, and the insured have to sign the application, as well as the producer. But we already know that. So insurable interest must exist at time of application. So let me ask you, let's say that I buy life insurance on a key person in my business. The key person quits. I continue to pay the premium on that life insurance. When they die, I, the owner of the business that bought life insurance on the key person, I still get paid. You only have to have insurable interest, which is based on an economic position, at time of application only. Doesn't matter about time of loss. Time of application only. How is the insurance company going to check to make sure that you are telling the truth about your health? At the bottom of the application, it tells you in fine print that they are going to request a report from the MIB, which stands for Medical Information Bureau. The Medical Information Bureau is a nonprofit organization that was started by insurance companies. Their job is to collect claims data and health history. So, oh, you forgot to mention your kidney transplant. How did they find out? It's on your MIB. So they will always check your MIB to make sure that you're telling the truth about your health. It's also true that if you're going to buy life insurance and they find out something about you on the application when you go to the doctor, they find out you have high blood pressure. They will most likely report that information to the MIB so that all the other insurance companies know you have high cholesterol or high blood pressure, whatever it was that they found during their physical examination process. So the MIB. It's also true that insurance companies might pull your credit report. So the Fair Credit Reporting Act governs the gathering of someone's credit. Some insurance companies will underwrite based upon credit and some don't. It is not against the law in every state to use credit. So make sure that when you study the law portion of your test, you will learn about whether or not it's allowed in your state. So if it's allowed in your state, the Fair Credit Reporting Act says that you have to tell the applicant pre-notification that you're going to pull their credit report. You also have to tell the applicant if you decide, your company decides to not issue a policy based upon something found in that credit report. Post-notification is also required, which simply means you must tell them which consumer reporting agency your company used. Your insurance company is not responsible for providing the applicant a copy of their credit report. It is their right as a consumer. Remember, the credit report is sometimes called your consumer report. It is your ability as a consumer, if you've been denied credit, to request a copy for free from the consumer reporting agency that was utilized. So that's why it's so important that post-notification be given to the applicants. They need to know which consumer reporting agency they may now request a copy from for free. So the MIB and the credit report. Risk classification. We talk about in very basic terms. because ultimately the whole job of underwriting is done by your insurance company, and every insurance company has slight variations in exactly what they do and how they do it. But in general, there are 3 categories of risk. So normal, everyday, average Joe is what is called a standard risk. Standard risk. It's what the mortality tables were developed for. The normal, average risk. The standard risk. A preferred risk is someone that's young, healthy, doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, exercises, is going to live a long life. They get what's called a preferred risk. They'll pay a slightly lesser premium if they represent a preferred risk. Somebody is a bad risk, if you will, they will be called a non-standard or substandard risk. Remember, in life insurance, pretty much anybody can buy it. It's a matter of can they afford the premiums. So let's say that your applicant has a heart condition and your insurance company comes back with a non-standard rate. So it's more expensive than the standard premium would be. And the client says, you know, gosh, I understand I have this heart condition, but you know, I can't afford that premium. Can you do anything about if I die because of my heart condition, you guys don't pay? Can we exclude that condition? Yes. So it's possible that if a client is a substandard risk, if they don't want to pay that premium and they can't afford that premium, that we can go back and forth and we can come to some sort of agreement where we would exclude the heart condition but cover the rest of them at the standard rate. All of this professional assessment of the risk is really done by the underwriter. So we just need to have a basic understanding of how it works. Delivering the policy. You should always deliver the policy to your client in person. Always versus mailing it, deliver it to the client in person. And when does coverage begin? Now this is a concept that we already talked about. Coverage begins when all of the conditions have been satisfied or when the underwriter approves the application, whichever occurs first. Big letter C, delivering the policy. Coverage begins when all of the conditions have been satisfied or when the underwriter approves the application, whichever occurs first. Remember, there is no coverage unless the client has paid a valid premium. So even in COD submittal application, where the underwriter has pretty much approved the policy, they have not had a valid premium paid yet. So coverage is not effective until the premium is paid. Offer and acceptance must also occur. Offer and acceptance are called mutual agreement of the parties or a meeting of the minds. The producer signs the application, but the producer is not a party to the contract. The producer is simply the front line underwriter. When the insured dies, it is the insurance company that will pay the policy's face amount. Number 2, explaining the policy to the client. Remember to always personally deliver the policy to the client. Deliver it in person. If the policy was issued with a surcharge or exclusion, then something has changed. This is a counter offer. In any time there is a counter offer made where the policy has changed from the way it was going to be originally, it must be accepted by the client before coverage will ever become effective. So if it's a counteroffer, maybe the insurance company found something on the MIB report that had not been disclosed to the insurance company so that they want to charge more than was originally going to be charged. They have to come back with this counteroffer, ask if the applicant would like to pay more. Maybe there's an exclusion that they want to add. The client must accept it, then effective. So if it's a counteroffer asking for more money, then they're going to have to pay more money, the client will, before it will be effective. If it's simply a counteroffer of an exclusion, the client still has the right to say no thank you, get any and all money paid back and go to another insurance company if they would like to. So make certain that you explain the counteroffer and it is accepted by the client. Then coverage would be effective. The more you explain about what it is that the client is purchasing from you, the more likely it is that they are going to pay their premiums. So you really want the client to understand how the policy works, how it provides protection to them and their family. So explain everything that you can, but we know you have to have the client agree to the counteroffer or an exclusion. Last in this chapter is the do not call list. So it is true that insurance companies are not allowed to telephone solicit 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They can't. They are only allowed to call between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m., the time zone in which they're calling, telephone solicitation. Now, of course, they cannot call anyone that is already on the do not call list. So they must obey the state and federal do not call list. So they cannot call people on the do not call list, with the exception of someone with whom you have an established relationship, an established customer relationship. If they're on the do not call list, you can still call an established customer. So I would feel comfortable with that for purposes of the test. It's also true that constantly consumers are adding their names and their phone numbers to the do not call list. So as a solicitor, the do not call list must be updated every month, every 31 days. The do not call list must be constantly updated. How often do they make you do it? Every month, 31 days. If you call a customer and they say, well, you know, I'm not interested, please add me to the do not call list, you must, of course, do that and do not call them again. Section 3 has key facts. Don't forget how important they are to read. A minimum of 3 times before you go in and take your test. That concludes our studies for Section 3 of life insurance. Good luck.